Hey, you geeks! If you're at all familiar with the Wheel of Time, you'll know that the three leading boys, the Tarviran of the books, are all terrible with women.
Are you having a biological... What's it like?
Like choking on a lifesaver. Worse. I can't say anything.
And yet they all think that the other two are somehow better. The Wheel of Time is truly just a story about these three boys learning to understand women and their journey in achieving that goal. A problem I often have with my analysis videos is that they're focused a bit more on the back, which makes them inaccessible to new readers. So, this is going to be a two-part video in which I break down the 4 stages of our boys' ability to communicate with women. Part 1 will focus on season 1 of the show, and then books 1 through 4 of the books. Part 2 will be the midpoint and the ending. So please, watch as long as you've read. And let me know your thoughts on who you think is the best with women in the comments. The show.
The show must go on!
The boys get relatively little screen time in the show, but that which they do get clearly demonstrates that they aren't the best with women. To communicate is to share or exchange ideas. So I will be ranking the boys in how well they share ideas with women, if the ideas they share with women are the ideas they intended to share with women, and if when women communicate ideas to them, if they receive the idea the woman intended to share, and how close these all rank with the truth. Across the board, if we were to ask if the boys did any of this well at the beginning, the simple answer is...
No. Definitely no. Positively no. Decidedly no.
Coming in last is clearly Perrin. Despite him being married at the beginning of the premiere, the writers put the axe on that relationship early. Then we see he has all these unacknowledged feelings for Egwene, which of course he thinks no one knows about, but they really do.
The truth?
Stop! Just stop! I am so tired of you two fighting over her like she's something you can win!
And he clearly has no idea what he's doing. A step up from Perrin is Rand.
Is one step up from dating Pig.
But an important step.
He and Egwene seem to be in a committed relationship, but they aren't very good at talking to each other.
If I were her, I'd leave you behind too.
You already did.
They spend most of the season fighting, and though Rand ends the season declaring that he wants Egwene to make her own decisions...
You can remake the world in your image, boy. Make it what you want. What about what she wants?
He also decides that he would rather have his friends think that he is dead than decide on their own if they want to be around him.
Tell them I died here. Tell them I didn't make it back.
Not great, Rand. Not great.
Sit down.
So, by default, this leaves Matt, who is at least competent enough to charm the gold off the women.
Will I be able to sell it here in town?
The more I think about it, the show's decision to have Matt begin as a thief like a magpie or a raven is quite clever, actually. A video to come on that. And here, sure, he's not being honest with the ladies, but at least he's able to read their intentions enough to manipulate them. Though, of course, Matt's golden moment comes when he is open and honest with little, not Elsa Grinwell.
My sisters never listen either.
Where are they?
Safe. At home.
With your mama and papa?
Matt succeeding to manipulate women in his communication is by definition an actual form of communication. Therefore, it is better than the lack of communication that Rand and Perrin have in the show. None of these boys communicate well. Matt is just the highest fly on the dung heap, which is also where the boys begin in the books. Country bumpkins. The Two Rivers is very much the Hickville of the Westlands.
I got some really bad news for you, Homer. We are a bunch of hillbillies.
I'm ranking Rand at the beginning as the flat-out worst with women. In the early books, he's consistently unable to read any female character's intentions, especially his would-be betrothed's Egwene's. He looked so lost, Egwene wanted to put his head on her shoulder, and so stubborn she really did want to box his ears. Listen to me, you great ox. I'm going to be Aes Sedai, and I'll find a way to help you. I will. The next time you see me, Rand said, you will likely want to gentle me. The whole will they, won't they dynamic of the first 3 books ends with Egwene officially telling him it's over and introducing him to Elaine.
That I'll always love you. Like a brother.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
Rand actually reads the situation correctly, but then Elaine totally gaslights him on what's going on. Did you and Egwene scheme this up between you? Rand asked. Elaine managed to combine wide-eyed innocence with mild outrage. How could you even consider such a thing? Do you imagine we would hand you around between us like a package? You think a good deal of yourself. There is such a thing as being overproud. He did look confused now, quite satisfactory. With even his friends manipulating him, it's no wonder that Rand refuses to trust Aes Sedai, though he is a bit quick to trust any female who says she isn't Aes Sedai, no matter how shady she is. This is how Rand falls very easily into Lanfear's clutches. We should be seeing you home, Selene, Rand said. Your people will be worried about you. A few days will see if I'm right, she said impatiently. The Horn of Valir, Rand. Think of it. The man who sounds the horn will live in legend forever. I don't want anything to do with legends, he said sharply. All right, a few days. At worst, we will probably meet Ingtar and the others. A wise decision, Rand, Selene said, and well thought out. She touched his arm and smiled, and he found himself again thinking of kissing her. Even when running from Lanfear in The Shadow Rising, Rand is not very good at identifying Lanfear's schemes. Meanwhile, this whole time he's been suspicious of whatever it is Moiraine is scheming, when Moiraine, in fact, has been very open and honest with him. Almost too open and honest. The Dark One is after you 3, one or all, and if I let you go running off wherever you want to go, he will take you. Whatever the Dark One wants, I oppose. So hear this and know it true. Before I let the Dark One have you, I will destroy you myself. Yes, I still count an open threat to be a form of communication, which is therefore better than no communication, but it's not great. Moiraine is at least open and honest about what she wants and how far she is willing to go to get it, but Rand's interpretation is that she will kill him if he goes off on his own. He does not ask, does he want to be a tool of the Dark One, and would it be so terrible to have Moiraine help him avoid being a tool of the Dark One? The truth the Aes Sedai says is not always the truth Rand hears. I guess Rand's level of communication remains consistent across the books and the show in the beginning. He does not trust Aes Sedai. He cannot interpret intentions and is terrible at talking to Egwene. That the show is trying to sell me on the idea that those two had a committed relationship before the show began is a bit of a stretch, but I guess it builds off the idea that Rand was just happy as a sheep herder and now is annoyed to be the Dragon Reborn. Coming in second, we have Matt. Matt either is very good at knowing when women are lying to him, or he always presumes that women are lying to him because 9 times out of 10, they are. Lucky him. Women always lie to Matt because he is the sort of boy at the beginning who makes the girls all run, screaming, away from him.
He's weirder than a regular weird. He's lord of all weirdos.
Either because of his badger antics or his unpleasant demeanor in books 1 and 2, definitely. His insults to Nynaeve when they reach Cayman do demonstrate an ability to read women's intentions and what they try to hold back. Pretty Nynaeve, Matt spat. A wisdom isn't supposed to think of herself as a woman, is she? Not a pretty woman. But you do, don't you? Now, you can't make yourself forget that you're a pretty woman now, and it frightens you. Everybody changes. Nynaeve's face paled as he spoke. Whether with anger or something else, Rand could not tell. Yet in the early books, we rarely see his subconscious read of women's true feelings used for good. Maybe this was an effect of the dagger. However, when book 3 rolls around, without the dagger, Matt can still guess what's going on. The Armorland wanted something, and Selene wanted something, and Matt was the rope they were tugging between them. He thought he would rather face Trollocs than be caught between those two, which makes him more perceptive than Rand at this point. By book 4, Matt's default assumption that women are always lying to him, or at least exaggerating the truth, begins to bite him in the rear. Specifically when Egwene tells him the whole truth as she understands it about the twisted red doorway Tirangrial. For once in your life, Matcham Coffin, she snapped, do not talk like a fool. You know very well that Tirangrial are not stories. It's the dangers you have to be aware of. Maybe the answers you seek are inside this one, but you must not try it before Moraine says you can. You must promise me that, or I promise you, I will take you to her like a trout on a string. You know I can. He gave a loud snort. I'd be a fool if I did try it, no matter what Moraine says. Walk into a bloody Tirangrial. It's less I want to do with the bloody power, not more. You can blot it right out of your mind. Matt successfully convinces Egwene that he won't go through the twisted red doorway. After years of being lied to, Matt can now lie to her, to himself, and to anybody pretty darn effectively.
Thus did the pupil surpass the teacher.
This is a skill that serves him well in the Waste when he's surrounded by dark friends and whatever it is he's doing with Ascendra and avoiding Lanfear. By the end of book 4, I would say that Matt has reached that level of lying manipulative dude that we see at the beginning of episode 1 in the show. It's just a bit uncanny to have suave Matt doing the things that stupid Matt did in the books sometimes. By default, we have Perrin coming in as best with women at the beginning of the Wheel of Time. Probably because he doesn't say very much.
You know, you don't talk very much. I like you.
In book 1, Perrin is able to read Egwene's desire for him to make a plan after they escape Shadar Logoth. Once he explains his plan, in I believe the only time in the entire series, Egwene has no objections. He dusted his hands and waited. He thought it was a good plan, but surely she would have objections now. He expected she would take charge, and she was always bullying him into something, and that was all right with him. To his surprise, she nodded. But Perrin gets a bit intense in his leadership, deciding that it would be better for Egwene if she died by his axe than by the crows. Perrin, like Rand and Matt, consistently assume the worst about women. Since he deals with Varen's shady antics in book 2, this isn't exactly surprising, but when we get to book 3, he's still out there seeing shadows where none may exist, especially when he meets Faile. There was a girl down in the common room staring at me, not at you and Loyal like everyone else, at me. Smile briefly touched Moraine's lips. You sometimes forget, Perrin, that you are a good-looking young man. Some girls admire a pair of shoulders. Perrin's consistent inability to understand Faile's intentions is an ongoing theme in these books. In book 4, they both act super childishly, trying to convince the other to do what they want without actually talking to each other.
They used to say, you raise your voice, it doesn't do any good. It's time to raise your hand.
Well, I've been planning to do something about it. I'll have another talk with her.
Talk to it? Talk to it? Talking won't do any good!
The Ways episode gets a lot of attention because it is the most blatant of these kind of character manipulations, but everyone else is doing the same thing, they're just a lot more subtle about it. By the end, Perrin actually achieves some level of communication with Faile and marries her.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Though Perrin still thought that Faile believed him when he asked her to go to Camelin to get help, though they both knew that was a fool's errand. It's a long way to Camelin, Faile went on quietly, her eyes very intent on him. But her face could have been wood for all the expression it had. Weeks to ride there, plus however long it might take to reach and convince Morghese. Then more weeks to return with the Queen's guards. We can hold out that long easily, he told her. Burn me if I can't lie as well as Matt. Instead of talking truthfully to each other, they both lie and then do what they want. Fortunately for Perrin, what Faile wanted was to save him, and she does. Like Matt, Perrin's communication skills with women have been ratcheted up to their pre-midpoint maturity level, where they're about to get a whole lot worse across the board. In sum, no matter the media, the boys begin with bad communication skills. But don't worry, at the midpoint, they go from bad to terrible. Tune in next week to hear how. And of course, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a comment if you want to see more. Thank you. Bye.